Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at Michio Kaku, who's a very well known publicizer of science and physics specifically, and is a generic determinist like so many other scientists. But we're going to look at what he specifically has to say. Although the claims are not unique to him, it is him that is saying them. So let's dive right into it.
Newtonian determinism says that the universe is a clock, a gigantic clock that's wound up at the beginning of time, and it's been ticking ever since according to Newton's laws of motion. So, what you're going to eat 10 years from now, on January 1st, has already been fixed.
Okay, here we are. Pure determinism. So, matter is, using Newtonian mechanics. Generally speaking, of course, we've had updates to Newtonian mechanics with Einstein and such, but this video is not about physics today. He says that we can know where particles are going and we can calculate their movements, and therefore we know what you will eat in the same using the same equations. So this just ignores consciousness. It ignores the fact that conscious beings are volitional, that they make choices, that these choices made by conscious beings are outside of Newtonian mechanics or any other sort of physics calculations. It's weird to just ignore consciousness. It's weird to ignore the fact that we make choices. And of course, a lot of people will say that we don't have free will, and free will in this sense, we don't have choice. There is a choice is just an illusion. But it is completely inane to say that you and I operate in the same way that rocks do. We have choices, and this is not calculable in the sense of Newtonian mechanics. Let's continue.
It's already known using Newton's laws of motion. Einstein believed in that. Einstein was a determinist. Does that mean that a murderer, a horrible mass murderer, isn't really guilty of his works because it was already preordained billions of years ago? And Einstein said, well, yeah, in some sense that's true.
Okay, doesn't matter if it's Einstein or 100 Einsteins or half the population. It doesn't matter who's saying it. It doesn't make it true. It's not preordained, predestined. These are necessarily like mystical ideas that, everything is an illusion. Like I said, we definitely make choices. You can choose to continue watching this or turn it off. It's not an illusion. That's a choice you have. Of course, we all make choices all the time. In terms of should we blame somebody that murders somebody, for instance, as a blame? That's an interesting question. My answer would be that the blame doesn't matter. All that matters is can somebody live in society and respect the nature and rights of other people or not? The cause of it is a little bit irrelevant. Rather, just can they do it or not? Can they live peacefully? Can they honor other people's rights or not? Of course, I think that most people, make bad choices, but then, of course, there are a lot of people that have sort of circumstances that are outside their control, like certain illnesses, mental illnesses of sorts, or even, just let's say a 5-year-old that kills somebody. Of course, we're not going to view that 5-year-old the same way as a 25-year-old that kills somebody, and so forth. But it's clear that anybody that murders somebody else needs to be separated from society until they can respect the rights of everybody else. In the case of a 5-year-old, it would probably be a shorter amount of time. There'd probably be some, an easier fix than a 25-year-old or so forth. So it has nothing to do with Newtonian mechanics anyway. Onward.
Even mass murderers were predetermined. But he said they should still be placed in jail. Heisenberg then comes along and proposes the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and says, nonsense. There's uncertainty. You don't know where the electron is. It could be here, here, or many places simultaneously. This, of course, Einstein hated because he said God doesn't play dice with the universe.
Okay, so it's just weird to equate the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and all these things with choices, with consciousness. Um, it's tough to say where consciousness comes from. I don't think anybody has a good answer of that, but in the same way, Michio Kaku cannot say where electromagnetism comes from, or where the strong and weak nuclear forces come from, like gravity or anything like this. He can't say where it comes from, but he can still describe the effects of it. In the same way we can describe the effects of the strong and weak nuclear forces and electromagnetism as quantum mechanics does very accurately, we can also subscribe choice to consciousness, because it would make no sense to have consciousness and the appearance of choice when really we're just rocks or whatever else. So it's just a false dichotomy. It's ridiculous. It needs to end. Determinism just basically turns a blind eye to consciousness. Let's continue.
Well, hey, get used to it. Einstein was wrong. God does play dice.
Okay, well, this is a whole nother can of worms. What do they mean by God? If they just mean the universe, well, then just say the universe. If they mean Jesus, then say Jesus. Jesus plays dice sounds ridiculous, and I don't think they would actually say that. And if they say God, they'd say a creator. Well, yeah, fine. You could reason to a deistic God, a creator God. The argument is, well, all creation needs a creator, so something needed to create it. That's the general argument. So therefore God. But then you can say, well, the creator also needs a creator, right? And you can go ad infinitum down the line here. Say, well, no, it didn't. Well, you could just skip a step and skip the God and just say, well, the universe created itself, and that is the eternal creator. Or you can add one step and say a God did it, and it answers nothing. It gets you nowhere. To then take a leap and believe in a theistic God. This same creating God created the universe with you in mind, and he cares about what you think and what you eat and who you sleep with and in what positions and so forth. Makes no sense. But then just to come back to God doesn't play dice, I mean, this is just a way of saying that there is no randomness in the universe, which in the quantum world there could be. But to make random choices is to negate reason, which we have, and we use reason to make our choices. So the Heisenberg uncertainty principle has nothing to do with my decision to make this video or to continue talking or to stop. Has nothing to do with it. Let's continue.
Every time we look at an electron, it moves. There's uncertainty with regards to the position of the electron. So what does that mean for free will? It means in some sense we do have some kind of free will. No one can determine your future events given your past history. There's always the wild card. There's always the possibility of uncertainty in whatever we do.
No, I mean, this is just a weird thing. He's saying, well, since we don't know which way the electron spins, we don't know what you're going to do. It's not due to uncertainty. It's due to choice.
So when I look at myself in a mirror, I say to myself, what I'm looking at is not really me. It looks like me, but it's not really me at all. It's not me today, now. It's me a billionth of a second ago, because it takes a billionth of a second for light to go from me to the mirror and back.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what that whole thing is. That's just something, I don't know, just to add for no reason. But of course, that goes back to Heraclitus, and that there are no identities because everything is changing. And like he said, I'm not looking at me. I'm looking at whatever it was that was standing here that looks like me pretty much, but a billionth of a second ago. I mean, it is you. I was once 5 years old, and yes, myself now at 36 years old is very different from my 5-year-old self, but that does not negate the fact that my 5-year-old self was me, and every stage in the way was also me. It's part of our identity is that we change. And this follows, if you want to tie it to a physical law, it ties to the second law of thermodynamics, basically that everything in the universe is inclined towards disorder and chaos, or entropy, the entropic principle. So you could describe like this as change. It does not lead to a contradiction. It's not a contradiction to say that, I used to be younger, for instance, and now that younger thing is not me because I have changed. Anyway, there was a lot going on in this video, just jumping all around. And why? That is the question I want to ask. Like, why? Just to create confusion? Just to avoid taking a risk and making an answer or giving an answer, making a statement, a definitive statement on things? That seems to be the thing that people want to avoid these days. It's like, oh, everything's complex. You don't know. It's like, well, use your reason and give me the best answer you got. If you don't know, you have to give a good reason for why you don't know. But to take a Nietzsche quote, they muddy the waters to make them seem deep. And I think that's what's going on a lot here. So if you enjoyed me actually thinking today, let me know. If you didn't, let me know as well. And I'll see you in the next one.